Yeah.
So then as men want to conquer and build a kingdom, they also want to conquer their women. And I think that when you get married, you don't have to forget. I mean, sometimes don't forget that it's always a game. Don't forget that there's always has to be the space between you. Welcome to the God, Money, and Sex podcast. My name is Raul Villacis, and I'm here with my beautiful hosts,
Vivian Villacis. So happy to be here with you, my love.
Just last week, we were in a beautiful island in Necker Island.
I know. Could you believe it? That seems like...
Time flies. Time flies.
I know.
Did you want to come back, or do you want to stay there?
I wanted to come back.
Same here. I mean, I love Necker Island. It's beautiful. But, you know, I think we just love what we do. Like, I love the grind. I love the hustle. We were missing our kids. We were missing the studio. So we were missing you guys, even though we did a podcast from there.
I know.
It was
And
interesting.
you actually did a lot. But I already felt your energy, like, towards, like, the fourth, fifth day. I even told you, like, we were having breakfast. And you were like, you had to go somewhere. And I'm like,
my energy was going through the room. Like, I need to do something. I need to be active. You know, they were feeding us. They were taking us into different adventures, and after a while, like, okay, we need to come back home.
We need to do something else, yeah. And that's kind of like what brings us to this topic. And we actually got a lot of questions. You got a lot of questions, and I got one of the questions that they were asking: how do you create chemistry when you've been, whether it's in a business or in a marriage, for more than a couple of years?
Because the interesting thing that I saw, because there was a couple of people in Nicaragua that were married, right? Actually, most of the people were there married, and when they ask you like what you do,
there were a lot of couples.
You said, I'm married to this man for 19 years,
yeah.
Right? So once they met me, they were like, okay, that's a full-time job. Being married to her for 19 years, if you were to accomplish that, you could do anything, right? So it's
nobody really believed it, that we've been together for so long.
It's gonna be 20 years next year.
Yeah, and that we could still want each other and love each other, and actually, you know, there was a couple there that well, nobody knows names or anything, so I could say it, but we asked them like to take a picture of us, and we got really close together, and you kissed me or I kissed you or whatever it was.
Oh, and they said the comment was that you guys looked like honeymoons.
Yeah,
like it was like
yeah.
Honeymooners, right?
And then we turned around, we're like, oh, let's take a picture of you. So they're like, we're taking a picture of them, and then when it was time for them to take a picture with this beautiful island and the beach and everything in the background,
you could see the awkwardness of like
they couldn't even
kiss someone else.
They didn't want to kiss each other, or they didn't want to get too close to each other, and that made me think like, okay, like from the question today, like the chemistry, like how is it that you and I have been able to have that chemistry between each other after 19 years? Because it is difficult.
You know, and I think that just to give, you know, people some feedback is like, it's hard to get that. I mean, it's hard. Like I remember, you know, I remember not too long ago, we were like that. Like, I don't want to get too close. I don't want to kiss you. Not in pictures.
No, I don't think we've been that far.
Like, absolutely. I mean,
really?
it kind of felt awkward to be affectionate, you know, especially when we had kids, you know, people giving us a feedback like, you know, you can't be too affectionate with kids, you know, I can't be grabbing you because, you know, the kids are going to see me grab you, and, you know, now we have to explain to them what we do and all these things. So it's not uncommon that couples don't show the affection in public. So how do you create that? So how do you create that chemistry? How do you set that chemistry? Well, it's chemistry. I mean, I didn't do that good in school, but I know that chemistry happens when there is two opposites, attraction, right? Yeah. Chemistry happens when there is friction. Chemistry happens when there is like an explosion, right? Chemistry doesn't happen if two things are just standing without any friction.
Right, and then you see like in like the young love, like right when we first started, like I remember just thinking back, like say the instance, like when you tell the story that you saw me, it was like that chemistry was like that instant attraction that brought us closer in the dance floor or wherever we were. But now fast forward 19 years in our marriage, like how can we create that attraction between the two of us after 19 years of knowing a lot of things that I know about you, and the same thing you for me?
So it's kind of like, how do the relationship doesn't get stale?
Yeah.
You know, so it's the same thing in business. You know, doing this for 20 years.
Yeah.
Have a real estate company for 20 years. And it does get stale after a while. I mean,
there are periods that happens. Yeah.
So I think that the most important thing to understand in a marriage and in a business is that there are phases, right? The stages.
Right.
You know, you grow. I mean, when I saw you the first time, when you were coming into the club, I saw you walking in with this white outfit. I said, that's my wife right there. I'm going to marry this woman. And then then I saw you dance with my friend, and you were going out with my friend. And I'm like, oh, shit. So she's taken. But it didn't stop us from being friends.
Right.
It didn't stop us from creating that chemistry. And as you know, I'm gonna stick to my story that I always say all the time, that you kissed me because I was so resistant. You took advantage of me, right?
Yeah,
because it was the chemistry. Because I think proximity brings chemistry.
It's like that sexual energy that it's like so attracting that you can't. It's like the two polarities that attract and become one, right?
So one of the things that we were talking about before we got into the podcast, like how do we give you some value? How do we give you some context? Like chemistry happens when it has to be an intention to create chemistry.
Okay.
Because at the beginning, chemistry happens when you are attracted to the person. It kind of happens when you meet that person. But then after, you have to create that intention. You have to work.
Work at it. Yeah, because if you're already in the relationship, how do you recreate that chemistry that you once had?
There's only so much things that I could find out about you. There's so much things that you can find out about me.
Yeah.
But we have to create the intention to create that chemistry.
Yeah, but then I also think, like, even though we've known each other for so long, like, I feel like there's always something new that I learn about you, whether it's something that drives me up the wall or whether it's something that I love about you, you know? So it's like, if we start to, like, really be conscious, like, if there is something new that I could learn about him, whether I hate it or whether I love it, there could be something new.
Well, see, I was just coaching one of my clients this morning about this, right? Like,
Okay.
So the polarity, right? The moment that you create, like the chemistry ends when there's two people who are bumping heads and nobody wants to give in, and both have the masculine polarity, right?
Right.
So the chemistry ends where there's no opposites.
Yes.
So there is a negative and there is a positive, and that's what creates energy. The moment that two people are just either too negative, then they're gonna tear their heads apart.
Yeah.
If you have two people that are too positive, that everything is awesome, everything is fun, it gets boring.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like the two opposites. Like if it's too much of a happy life and it's like everything is positive, everything is great, it's gonna be boring. I mean, we were in an island and everything was amazing. But after 7 days,
it's time to go.
It was time to go. I mean, for me, it got boring after a while because like I needed to do something. I needed to create more excitement. I needed to do something else, because that's what creates chemistry, is the variety.
So then for me, what created the chemistry was more like I needed my space. And my space and your space are completely different. So I think like a little bit of distance creates the chemistry. So like if you could think of like the two opposites, right? They're coming together. They're coming together, but they're at their own space when they are attracting. So like for me, like I already needed my space. Like I needed to do thank God that like you do your ritual in your side of the island. I did my ritual on the other side of the island. The island was big enough for the two of us, but you need to create that distance. So like for women, I would say like, you know, you need to find your own space, whether it's like to be away for a day, to go to like, to do something with your girlfriends or with your family, or, you know, if you have an event to go to, don't be afraid to go by yourself. Just go and learn and be there and create that, like that distance that your husband or your loved one actually like is wondering and missing where you are.
That's attractive. I mean, that from a man's perspective, a woman that is free, that she's not kind of hovering or like depending on the man, and like,
always
kind
there,
of like always there, and kind of feels like more of somebody that's kind of micromanaging every move. I think that's when you lose the chemistry.
Yeah.
Because like, okay, come on, I need my space. I need to be free. Like that's one of the things that we constantly working on each other, is like give each other the space.
Yeah,
so
we're
you
good
can
at
do
that.
you and I do me, and then when we come back, it's like, okay, now we're good.
Yeah.
But I remember too, also like at the beginning of our relationship, and I don't know if you remember this, but I was kind of like the control freak, and I was kind of like, you were like a puppy. I wanted to just hold you.
Yes,
and I'm like,
remember.
no, you can't do this or you can't do that. And you know, obviously we were young, but that's the other aspect. Like when you want to be with each other constantly and control, it's kind of like you kill the chemistry because you're not giving that space. Same thing with me. Like same thing as a man. Like if a woman is too much trying to control the guy, it just kills the chemistry.
Yeah, you need to find your own space. You need to find the things that you love to do and go do them. Like, you know, we're in this relationship as two energies loving each other, not like as you know, like a husband and a wife, but it's like, yeah, but you will both need your own identity. I mean, your own space.
As you grow and you become your own woman, and I create my own things, like we both come together.
Yeah.
So number one is creating
some distance. Yeah.
The second one is what do you say at the beginning? Because I didn't write it down. Just now, we just said it right now.
We were just talking about it. I don't know. We said distance. We also said, like, for men, I think you guys need to have your own purpose.
No, and the challenge. Challenge of the purpose. I mean, that's one
purpose.
thing that attracted me about you at the beginning was like you didn't want to be with me. Like your parents actually were opposed you being with me.
They said no.
So it was a challenge for me. It's like, okay, bring it on. I want a challenge. I think men want a challenge. If it's too easy.
Yeah.
And even though we're married and for 20 years, like, it's not. We constantly are trying to seduce. I think, at least for me, I'm trying to seduce you, and you do the same thing. And we play. I mean, yesterday you were to teach. Yesterday or the day before yesterday, when you showed me your new shoes that you got.
Yeah.
New shoes, and you came into the bedroom and you wore my shirt. Those are the little games that come a long way. You don't have to do that.
No.
I mean, it was like we already married, right? We don't have to seduce each other.
There's nothing that you haven't seen, but it's in a different way.
But is that intention behind it of trying to seduce the person?
And also, like, build some sort of, like, curiosity. Like, if you, like, I text you and said, I have new shoes, which is, like, I'd post it for you guys to see it. This, like, amazing, like, 6-inch heels, sparkles and all this stuff. Like, it brings me pleasure, it brings me joy, it brings me happiness. But it's like, okay, now what else can I do with that joy, with that happiness? Can I show you how it makes me feel? And that's also part of, like, me feeding my feminine, because I could feed my feminine all day long, but there is no masculine to attract it, to entice it, for me to become, like, to play the game between the predator and the prey. Then who am I? Just, flopping around in my shoes, which is fun.
You're to chase you.
Yeah, of course. I want to become the prey.
Even as like my little girl, she's 11 years old.
Yeah.
And what's her favorite game that she loves to play with me?
Hide and seek.
Hide and seek, like, because the feminine energy loves to be chased. The feminine energy loves to be, it wants somebody to be seen,
be loved,
to have somebody challenge to find her.
Yeah, and it's also a game. Like, it becomes fun. I think, from being 19 years in our marriage, it's like, or other couples that I've talked to, it's like they forget to just have fun, bring in the kid-like mentality. Like, we don't really do Halloween so much because our kids are already older.
But we love to dress up.
But we dress up.
We love to dress up even when it's Halloween.
We have costumes in our attic, and we choose one or the other, and we just be playful with it and become someone else, and whatever it is. Like, you have to get creative, and I think that you have to find that playfulness in your marriage, because if not, the chemistry will disappear. And we need to have that chemistry in order to create that sexual desire. If we don't have that, then it's like it becomes boring, and we talk about that all the time.
So let me just kind of wrap it up into a business conversation for the guys who are listening to this, so it doesn't just get too relationship driven.
It's kind of the same thing.
But it's the same thing. I was just coaching my guys this morning. It's like, man, the way that you handle your relationship is a direct reflection of how you handle your business. Right. So put in your comments, if you're watching us through Facebook Live, put in your comments questions you have about creating the chemistry. What do you do to create the chemistry? Because at the end of the day, if you're bored in your relationship, eventually you'll be bored in your business.
Yeah.
Because I coach many guys who, the moment that we start seeing the connection between their relationship and the connection in their business, you can see patterns.
Yeah, and it's so perfectly symmetrical, because I remember, like, even with business with you, like, there was a huge account that you wanted, and it wasn't easy to get. It was a huge challenge.
I was going after. It was a challenge.
Like, I'm not going to give up, Vivian. I'm not going to give up. And at the end, you got the account as like one of your biggest accounts from real estate, and it's like that feeling of accomplishment.
It's a conquering.
Like, yeah.
So then, as men want to conquer and build a kingdom, they also want to conquer their women. And I think that when you get married, you don't have to forget. And sometimes we forget.
Yeah.
So one of the things is, don't forget that it's always a game. Don't forget that there's always has to be the space between you. The space between being together and being apart. Being together is it's chemistry.
Yeah.
And the polarities, where there's too much positive or too much negative, it gets boring if it's too positive, and it gets drained if it's too negative.
Yes.
Same thing with the business. If the business was going great and it was amazing, be fucking boring.
Yeah, because you need a challenge in between here and there. And I think that also reminds me, like, sometimes as women, like, we're afraid, or maybe we've been taught not to say no, because we think, like, it maybe, like, it doesn't sound right. But when you say no, that actually creates the challenge. And maybe you could even, I remember, like, our sex coach, she said, no, not right now, but we could do this. like whatever it
Create
is,
the
how you
framework.
feel.
I mean, and,
like,
and that's the flirtation.
right?
That is the
And also
it's the
honoring
game.
yourself, because I know like a lot of the times in our marriages, like we lose our voice and we become like this pleasers, whether it's the man or the woman. And we forget like there are some boundaries that we must keep, and we forget. So once we start to remember, once we start to work on that, and we could say like, no, for whatever reason, or no, not right now, or no, but we could do this. It becomes a challenge. It becomes fun, and it becomes like some sort of like curiosity built in.
So in order to create, at least from a man's perspective, in order to create a chemistry in your business and in your relationship, you need three things. Number one is a challenge.
Yes.
If it's too
must.
easy, it gets boring.
Yeah.
The second thing, it needs to be a game that you can win, because if you're putting there's too many challenges and it's never enough. And I know, like, there's people that are like, I'm doing everything, but I never get praise. For men, praise is like oxygen.
Praise and rewards.
Praise and rewards. Like, I need to know that I'm winning. I need to know that there's a game that I could win, so I'll continue to do it. And feedback.
We are the prize.
Yeah. Well, there is feedback, right? So there is always the feedback of like, okay, what are you doing right, and what can you improve?
Yeah.
Not necessarily just beating the guy down all the time and saying, you never do this, so you never do that.
No, because you're not gonna create chemistry with that. Like, chemistry is something that happens like bam, like right away, and it's something like you want.
So you need a challenge.
Something positive.
You need to have a game that you could win, and you also need variety. You need to be able to have variety. You need to be able to know that at the end there is different colors, different shades, and opportunities for you to continue to explore.
A new novelty.
I mean, same thing in business. I mean, the reason that I'm excited constantly about building the business is because there's always a challenge.
Yeah.
It's always constantly changing. There's always something that's going wrong. Before you came to the studio, I was dealing with some other shit that was going on. So like, that's the exciting part.
Yeah.
And you were telling me like, what's wrong, Raul? I said, it's just a game.
Yeah.
It's just a game. It's like if you're an entrepreneur, you have to learn how to play the game.
Right.
If you're in a relationship, you have to learn how to play the game.
Yeah.
Like, if you're waiting for everything to be perfect, it's gonna be boring, and paradise, believe it or not, is not
all paradise.
All paradise. At the end of the day, we were in paradise for 7 days. We wanted to come back home because we love the game. We love the excitement. We love to impact, and we love to do what we do.
That's right.
So at the end of the day, chemistry takes a lot of work.
It does, just like everything else, but it's so worth it, because when you have that chemistry, you create those sparks.
You bring it back to sparks. All right, so don't forget to follow us in Instagram, follow us in Facebook, follow us in YouTube, follow us everywhere except for our bedrooms. We keep it private. Until next time, learn it,
live it, experience it. Love life.